Many of you knew my mother in one of her capacities, as a friend, a colleague, a wife, and a mother. As her daughter, I have the privilege of observing my mother in all the roles she played throughout her life. And I would like to share the lessons I learned from her. Number one, always dress up. You're never fully dressed without a smile. As many of you know, my mother had the most impeccable taste. Her style was timeless, and she loved bright colors, cherry blossom pinks, grapefruit oranges, deep sea aquas, the colors of late spring and early summer, the colors of promises of light and hope, and she loved all of them. As a little girl, I would spend hours watching her choose outfits, and in the later years, help her choose them myself. She would deliberate over soft silks, white pearls, shiny shoes. But my favorite part of her routine, and perhaps the most important, was her lipstick. She would wear the same beautiful rum raisin shade every day since I was born. But what struck me most about her routine was her dazzling smile. Every single day, no matter how tired she was, no matter how much pain she was in from her 12th round of chemotherapy, she would wake up, smile, and put on her lipstick. So when the days came when I myself was tired, or sad, or scared, or homesick, especially when I was studying in England, she would always tell me this: no matter what you are feeling now, let it go. Clear your mind, take a deep breath, and go to sleep. Tomorrow is a new day, and it cannot begin until you let go of today. So smile when you wake up tomorrow. Put on your lipstick, for you have an infinite number of possibilities to shape the world. And speaking of her smiling, the next lesson my mother always taught me was to take pictures. She gave me my first camera when I was 3, and I never stopped clicking. I asked her once why she took so many pictures, and she told me this: every moment is special. Every person you meet is special. And if you have the opportunity to spend time with the people you love, that is the most important gift you can receive. And when the time comes when you don't have that opportunity, you can look back on those pictures, on that very moment, and smile and laugh and gather strength and hope that good things that once came into your life can happen again. And most importantly, no matter how overwhelmed you may feel at the curves life throws at you, always put on a smile and develop from the negative. The third lesson was that we should all remember to work hard and do the things that bring you joy. My mother worked at the World Bank for 25 years, and those were the best 25 years of her life. She had an incredible work ethic and capacity for spotting details. She was always the first to spot a crease in my school uniform, and she was always the last to leave the office. Her work brought her joy. On the many occasions I would come to the office with her, she would always be on the phone, making corrections to various documents, and these discussions would go on and on for hours. And when she was undergoing all her chemotherapy, I would sit with her in the office the day after and ask her, "Why aren't you home resting?" To which she would reply quite simply, "I have work to do. I love my office, I love my friends, and I am happy here." And she showed this love without restraint. Whether it be the Christmas decorations she carefully put up around the office, homemade pancit for everyone to share on Friday, or even the fact that she shared her not-so-secret stash of snacks with her entire office, so much so that they called her 7-Eleven. She loved her office so much. She would come in on the days when she was about to collapse from exhaustion with a smile on her face and no one knew. And in the last 7 months of her life, she would come back from a scan or a hospital visit, even surgery, and demand that I take her downstairs so she could log on to work. And as I held her hand and helped her down the stairs and watched her take those agonizing, gasping breaths, I realized just how much she loved what she did. She craved the company of her work family, especially during those trying times. And I realized that my mother was a flower, and her work, family, and friends were her sun. Whenever they were around, she would bloom like a rose, and despite no medication, she would smile, and on special occasions, even let loose her melodic and infectious laugh. And that knowledge of doing what she loved every day gave her the strength to keep pushing, no matter what. So learn from my mother and take the time to figure out what your calling is in life, and answer it, and watch the universe set in motion all the things you need and all the strength to follow it. The fourth lesson she always taught me was to make your own good luck. Throughout her 17 years of cancer, my mother never for 1 second doubted God or herself. Doctors told her many times this medicine may not work. There's a risk with surgery. And finally, that the cancer has spread. And you know what my mother did every time? Just like the thing that she so loved in the movie Madagascar, she smiled and she waved, all of them. No matter how many times doctors told her, that's it, this is the end, she just smiled. She smiled so much that also my mother got cancer when I was 6. I only actually found out when I was 13. She believed in herself, and she set hope and dreams, and she believed that she could achieve them. She dreamt that she would see me graduate high school, and then college, and then to a master's, and despite everything in this world and everyone telling her no, she did. Because she believed. She is a very manifestation of Paulo Coelho's saying that once you decide on something, the entire universe will conspire for you to achieve it. So decide on what you want, believe in it with your entire heart, wish upon that star with all your being, and watch your wish come true. The fifth lesson my mother taught me was to take time to heal yourself every day. My mother would always begin and end every day in prayer and meditation, and by taking time to reflect on her day and to be still, I believe she found her source of inexhaustible strength. In her final visit to the hospital, her legs swollen. The doctors had spent 2 days trying to figure out the cause of it, but to no avail. My mother said she was tired, so she prayed and rested, and the doctor came back a few hours later and said, "Oh my God, my mother's swelling had completely disappeared. No test results, no medicine, no explanation. Nothing had changed, except my mother had brought herself to her place of peace and that I would suffer because of her. That is love. That is pure, unwavering love. And in the face of such news, all her self-preservation mechanisms gave way, and she chose to speak to me, her baby. And I wept. I sobbed so much because I never actually believed what I meant to my mother. And I never learned that how much she loved me above all things, above everything, including herself. And I realized how blessed I was. I found out a week ago, last Tuesday, that it was going to be her last day. The doctor said she would not make it through the night. And so there it was, my biggest fear, my biggest test, the nightmare of all nightmares. I had the opportunity to make a choice, to run as fast as I could, to shut off every emotion, to leave her all alone and never come back, and to forget this life, or to make the hard choice, to stay, to sit with my mother and help her die in peace. And I remember the incredible gesture of love my mother had showed me on that cold December day, and the choice became simple. I stayed. How could I do anything else? And I promised her I would stay until the very end. And so I did. I spoke to her for 26 hours without stopping as she fought to stay by my side, without leaving her, without sleeping. I spoke to her of all my thoughts, my hopes, my dreams, my fears, and my sins. I read her all the notes of love and compassion pouring in from around the world, and I made her promises of love that I will always honor and keep. And through it all, I held her hand and I told her I loved her. And that was the last thing she ever heard on this earth. And as I look back on that night of almost unbearable sadness, I remember it with joy. Because I had the opportunity to prove my love to her as she proved hers to me in December. And the lesson I ask all of you to take from this experience is what the priest told my mother and I at her healing mass in February. Many people ask, he said, why do we suffer? And the answer is simple. We suffer because we are human. We suffer to remind us we are human. To remind us that our time together in this life is short. So we must always show love to one another. We must always take every opportunity we are given and blessed with to show love to one another. Because our time together is not flirting. It is often easy to show and to express love when times are good. But love, true love, the kind that my mother taught me and all of you, manifests itself when our metal is weighed and tested in the darkest and deepest of days. Those that embody real love for one another are never found wanting. When my mother died, all those around her started crying, but I didn't stop. It took me time to realize why, and the best explanation I have is this. The butterfly leaves behind his old life as a caterpillar through his metamorphosis and suffering. It does not wish to go back to its life as a caterpillar. My mother's metamorphosis took 17 long years, and through those years, we have had